All right, I need a motion and a second to move into public session.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'd like to ask everybody to stand to do the pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence afterwards. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming out. Mary Jane? Carol?
Mr. Dean Amendment,
Present.
Ms. Martinez is President, Mr. Leopold Kiefer,
Here.
Mr. Lawrence Light,
Present.
Dr. Linda Adams,
Present.
Ms. Madeline August,
Present.
Ms. Eileen Canada,
Present.
Mr. Mark Warshaw,
Present.
Ms. Jackie Alexander Kerner,
Present.
Ms. B. Kennedy, Ms. Lisa Hutchin, present.
Any changes to the meeting? As I was discussed, that will point out, recommended on the consent agenda. Okay, and personnel. We're moving on to the minutes of the Board of Education. We did second. I mean, a motion and a second to approve for the meetings of August 20th and August 27th. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're moving on to new business, 2019-2020 enrollment update. Would that be you, Mr. Oh, okay, you're up.
Would you like me here or at the podium?
Wherever you're comfortable.
I'm comfortable here. I got into personnel because I didn't want to speak in public, and now I have to speak in public. It's very unnerving. Mary Jane, can you pull the slide up? So at the end of August, the personnel office did contact a lot of the elementary schools, and we spoke with the registration to determine what exactly the enrollment numbers look like for the general ed sections in K through 5. I have a very short presentation regarding the number of students in the classrooms and the number of sections in each building. As you can see from this first slide, these are the primary grades, kindergarten, first and second grade. What we are asking for is consideration for the board or from the board to open up a section at Cherokee for the first graders. As you can see, that number right now, the average class size is around 23. There are classes at 24, 23, and there are 3 sections there. So we are asking if the board would consider breaking a section there. As you can see from the footnote at the bottom, an additional first grade section at Cherokee will drop the class size to about 17 and a half. So at this time, we're thinking that the numbers do support the need for an additional staff member at Cherokee Elementary School. Similarly, at Idlehour, you can see the second grade is at 26. That is a significantly high number compared to what the district's grade numbers are, and therefore we are asking for an additional section at Idlehour as well. That would drop the class size to 13 in each of those classes. We recognize that it's pretty low for a second grade class. However, 26 is well above where we should be. If you look at the next slide will show you the intermediate grades, 3, 4, and 5. You can see the numbers that we are monitoring. We're not asking for additional sections there, but we are monitoring these sections at Cherokee. Currently the enrollment, and again, these are enrollment figures as of August 30th. Currently the enrollment there is at 23 and a half. And again, you can see at the other elementary schools, they hover right around the 21 number, with some as low as 17. And then in the 4th grade, Cherokee is around 23, which does mean that there are a couple of sections there with 24. And again, the other numbers hover around 21 or so You do have Earl sitting at 14 and a half, but that has to do with the break number. Unfortunately, the number there is 29, the enrollment, and there's really no educational sense to keep 29 in a fourth grade class. So we have split that, and there are 14 and 15 in those sections. So that is the end of my presentation. As I said, I don't like speaking in public anyway, so that worked for me.
So are you looking for the board to give you a consensus?
Yes, please. We are looking for the board to approve 2 people tonight, 1 additional section at Cherokee, 1 additional section at Idlehour. We do have plans for those 2 sections if the board is amenable to it. So we're hoping that you would be willing to do that. There is the possibility of a 3rd section, but we are monitoring, as I said, the other classrooms.
Additionally, as spoken in the exec, we were also looking for a 1.0 in special education to be implemented right now, and 2, health and abeyance, just in case there are some of the sections that Mrs. Manzi is following, and we need to look at our IEPs. So we're asking the board in a total package to approve 5 additional teachers, 3 to be utilized immediately, and 2 to be held in abeyance just in case the IEPs justify that need.
Lee?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Eileen?
Yeah.
I'm a yes, it's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question about the Cherokee that you got on 24? Almost 24 in some of the classes. Did they put, they're keeping it at that, and I know our parents aren't going to be happy.
You gotta put your microphone on. They're not gonna be happy.
Is there a way that we perhaps can put in a TA to help, if we're not gonna let the class ahead?
Especially in the ones that are inclusion.
That is entirely a possibility. If the board approves that, we would be moving forward then and looking for TAs for those sections that you dictate.
And we normally provide TAs
A
23,
certain number,
24, 25.
Can I ask you something? This is what that's what I'm saying. If we open one more section at Cherokee, okay, in 2 grades, we would knock the number down to close to everybody else.
Well, in 3rd grade, we have 94.
Well, in 3rd grade,
You do it in
and 4th grade.
We do it both.
You know, 5th grade has it too, but, you know, it's, the problem is once you get into the 90s, and you have 4 sections, they're hard. I know,
So you want to go 5 sections?
I want to 5.
On which grade?
All of them, she said.
On all grades?
No, on any that are above 22.
So that's
Wait.
like
So our
34th
given
and
number
5th.
is 19. 19 and 20 is what most parents want to see, but in reality, for fiscally, what you can do, 22 should be the cutoff. Even though I know you guys say 24 to 27 to 28. When you start seeing 24 in a classroom, it's a rough
I
number.
think the cutoff was 25. Yes, and you're right there, you're not over it.
Right, but what happens if you guys get 2 or 3 more enrollments throughout the year? And that does happen.
So the budget guidelines for 3, 4, 5 are different than the budget guidelines for K 1, 2. And the budget guidelines for 3, 4, 5 actually go up to 28.
But that was through the years that those numbers went. We used to be lower years ago.
I know, but that hasn't changed since before I got here. Because
Right.
when we looked at the budget guidelines when I first got here, it was 22 to 24 in
Dr.
K 1.
Rogan changed that.
Okay.
So what about,
We can change that back when we look at the budgeting for this year.
what about not just with the team, what about after the first week of school, getting some kind of report from these teachers if possible, and see if they want a TA? Some of them might feel like they're okay with the 24 kids, and some might feel like they have a couple of special needs that could certainly help them. If the teacher needs the help, I say give them a TA.
Jackie, what we do in the ICT classes, there's always a TA in there already. So this would be strictly in the general education classes that you'd be asking the teachers. We could certainly do that and then come to you at the end of September and say, these couple teachers would like, even if it's someone just part of the day when kids are transitioning, we could certainly do that in those buildings that have classes that are that high.
That'd be great.
Okay?
Okay, we're moving on to policy. Yeah, moving on to policy, that would be you, I mean.
This is code of conduct.
Code of conduct one, so it's not me, but my code of conduct is lacking several aspects. Mostly it's all about kids and nothing about the adults. And based on some, I don't know what you were saying, based on some rumors and innuendos, I think that we need to tighten that up for adults as well.
So we're looking to include in the code of conduct.
Fraternization policy, according to, correct. Do that.
Would you be able to touch on that a little bit?
Some places,
It depends on what you mean by fraternization. So there's elements that include maybe a staff member who is subordinate to another staff member, that type of relation is prohibited, or something of that nature. It's very hard to do it amongst, equal staff members,
No, I know that. no, the subordinate, which is against the law anyway.
Not necessarily, but it could be against policy
Well, not
where
against the, but it's in cases that have been brought up where it's a subordinate and,
if there's an allegation of harassment,
Correct.
that's where that comes up.
so I would
And
like that included in our code of conduct.
so we can provide some language with regard to that. And I believe we'd also have to look at your ethics policy, just to make sure it all combines correctly,
Right, perfect.
okay? So sure, we can give that to me. I don't know if it has to be in your code of conduct, or whether it can be a free alone standing policy. In most districts, it's a separate policy, like under employee relations or something of that nature. So it can be a separate policy, okay?
I would suggest that because the code of conduct really is more aimed towards students and not necessarily employment of staff.
Correct.
So I think in the personnel records.
Yes,
and
there's a whole
personnel
section that
policies,
deals with personnel, so it's probably more appropriate there. Yeah.
Code of
And,
conduct does mention policy.
It does, it's.
For district staff, it does, it's.
I mean, the policy is,
relationship to students also.
it is more about students, it's applicable to visitors, it's applicable to employees, but when you're talking about that very specific employee issue,
Yeah,
you probably want it under
that is
person.
one that I do.
Okay, was there anything else on the policy? I need a motion and a second to vote on the first reading of the policy 5300 code of conduct. Motion,
Second.
all in favor?
Fine.
Eileen?
I'm gonna abstain.
Eileen's abstaining? You're abstaining on your policy?
It's not my policy, I didn't do it.
So with the discussion?
I wasn't part of the policy committee that did it, so I'm saying,
It's a committee, it's a very specific state committee. that
Right.
does that.
Oh,
so I didn't do it.
Oh, okay,
I
sorry.
had nothing to do with it.
So you didn't have more opportunity to do it?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so we're moving on to public comment. Step to the podium, address the board president only. You may address one or more topics in the time allotted. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, or position. Create a rule. Does anybody have any questions, concerns? Step up.
If not, I have a couple of questions that I had asked to put on the agenda.
Yeah, well, I would like to do that.
Well,
I have
you can move it on,
questions.
if you're likely, can you move that onto your Board of Education reports?
Sure.
Just kidding.
Okay, so nobody's stepping up to the podium, let's move on to recommended action, personnel matters. We have a Schedule 1, resignations, terminations, leaves of absence. I'd like to remove item 4C. So we're going to vote on all remaining items, we're excluding 4C. Need a motion and a second?
Motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Fine.
Okay, I need a motion and a second for appointment, tenure, salary changes. Motion,
Second.
all in favor?
Fine.
Okay, we're moving on to recommended action, financial matters. I have items 2 through 5. I need a motion and a second, if there's any questions the board may have. I need a motion and a second on the table first.
Motion.
Second it. Any questions? This is the financial.
No,
Any?
oh, I do have a question on the interest rates. I want to follow up on that.
Are we making our money?
Yes, when Ray was here, he asked that we look into switching some of the accounts that were at 0.2% into the 1.2% accounts and getting a higher interest rate. It would give us a lot of income on our accounts, and I don't see that that's been done. I see still a lot of low point percentages instead of 1 point percentages. So, what's the scoop there? When are we gonna transfer some of that money and make some interest on our accounts?
I think what the question was asked of the treasurer, and she said we needed to wait until we had the TAN money solidified for coming in before we use that money.
And then transfer money, we need to wait for a TAN?
Well, the money may be needed, and now that we know what the TANs are going to be, now she can release that money and get different interest rates.
Okay, so is that gonna be done in the next, when?
I will speak to her. I will speak for tomorrow.
Okay.
I'd like to just take a quick moment and acknowledge our newest wife husband, Kim Des. Congratulations and welcome.
Welcome. Okay, I do have a question. While it is not on this financial, it was on the last agenda, which unfortunately I was not able to attend. I did see that there was a transfer of $320,000 into the lunch fund. From what I understand, Linda, you do have a consultant coming in on the 24th.
Yes.
Is that a question that I'll be asking her? Well, it's not really a question I'll be asking her. She's just going to come in and give us the present climate. But as far as this goes, I'd like to know what was the amount transferred in the last year, and I want to know maybe the last 3 years of the trend. I'd like to see the last 3 trending years.
I didn't see the
No, sorry, this was the meeting I missed.
No, I know, but where are the transfers for this?
There's only one transfer.
And what was it for? Can you just tell me? I couldn't open it up. It's in somewhere. I can't find it.
Okay, so let's close out this first. Does anybody have any questions on the financial?
I don't know about the transfer.
It's on the consent.
Transfers on the consent? Oh,
Yes.
gotcha.
Okay, so I need I have a motion and a second on the table. I just need it all in favor. Aye. Just want to verify, there is no budget transfers. I do remember seeing one on the consent agenda. Is that correct? Okay. Okay, we're moving on to the consent agenda. We have items 2 through 17. We're going to have item 11, 15 as amended. I need a motion and a second.
Motion. I'm sorry.
I have items 2 through 17. I have items 11, 15, and 16 as amended. I need a motion and a second.
Second.
We have it all in favor? Oh, actually, do we have any questions?
Method test prep. Which one is that? Number 10. How many hours is this session? How many children are in each? Can you give me a little more information than what said on the contract then?
It's for English 11 classes.
Okay, how many kids are benefiting from this?
All 11 graders. It pushes into the English class.
And how much will that actually cost us? Because that wasn't really clear.
Yeah,
I'd have to get back to you with an exact number.
And then I'm gonna go back and hold it, table it until we know the numbers.
Can you find out now?
I'll certainly try.
Which item was that again?
10. This, number 11.
That's have been amended contingent on finalization of the stipulation.
Okay, good, right. The fireworks.
Yes.
The two children that signed contracts, Are they 18?
They don't sign,
Well, they signed it, they signed it, they signed it.
they signed it as officers of the club.
Correct. So are they 18? Yeah, no,
Obviously not.
then they can't sign anything. It's not valid, so, are all costs of the student government? And is their advisor willing to sign that? Because children can't sign contracts.
Why are we having children sign
I don't know,
contracts?
I follow. It's on this.
Why are we making them sign that?
I'm sorry, I didn't know children. Yeah.
That's not the contract. The contract with Gucci is not signed by.
Do you
the
see what it
state,
says on it? It says, "We, the officers, CHS student government, agree to pay all associated costs." They're agreeing to pay all associated costs in writing and signing the name. Not 18, they can't be doing that.
Why are we allowing kids to do that?
Well, because we must actually. It's part of the students
You
being
must
part of
let
being part of the club.
child sign contracts.
So they
I'll have to see
they
what the rules
voted to
are.
actually have the contracts, but they're not signing the contract. The contract with Gucci is not signed by
They're
the
signing that they're
children.
going to be responsible for costs. Why are we letting children say that they're going to be responsible for costs?
So there's a whole policy manual with regard to student government. So the goal is for them to act in the role of, maintaining the funds and doing things of that nature. I'm not sure it includes signing, making promises of this nature, so I'll have to look at the manual, which is pretty thick, to let you know whether this is allowable or whether it would have to be their advisor.
Right. I'm
So,
not comfortable saying
I'll
this,
find
that's
out.
why I don't want any child either. So, and all these costs through the student government, not through us.
They're through the student government. And I do not believe the contract with Gucci was signed by the students. The students'
But it's
signature is to allow us to say that they have okayed this contract and that they, as a student body, have decided that they want to, in fact, it's not signed by anybody yet until.
No, but you're telling me that the Board of Ed is saying, okay, to 2 children, we're gonna say that it's okay that you guys just guarantee the, these funds.
I know what it says, but
Yeah, I
we do
know.
the same thing for the contract with the prom, we do the same thing for the contract with the senior cruise.
I've never seen a child sign a contract.
No, but it's not on the contract, the contract is right
They
here.
wrote it, that's a legal binding thing if they were 18, they're not 18 though, so we can't do that. That shouldn't even be included on it.
So what?
It's a must that the students have said it's okay for us to engage in that contract because it's their funds. It belongs to the trust and agency account and it's their funds. So if we have prom, if we have the yearbook, if we have the contract for
I
the
understand what
junior
you're saying,
cruise,
Linda, but they're under 18.
basically they have to say that it is okay for us to use their funds and
Their
transfer their
advisor
funds.
should
to
be
the
saying that
contract.
with them as maybe witnesses, but not
No,
them signing.
they absolutely have to
Can you
sign.
get me the legal first before, I wanna table that until we get the legal
So they
advice.
need to have the balance paid by October 1st, so they basically, if we table this to September 24th, there aren't any strict time constraint there. So it looks like as though they already paid a deposit, they already paid a deposit.
We'll get the result before that, if we need to come in for a special meeting for the kids, I'll do that, I have no problem doing it for the kids, I don't think anybody does.
I'm not sure that they can move forward. with
Sorry?
the-
I'm trying to find the answer before the end of your meeting.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
please, because I don't want to come in.
Can I interrupt for a second? I have the information you requested. Okay, so it's approximately 16 sessions, about $150 a session. It's $2,400 and the money has already been budgeted in the guidance budget for the year. For method test prep.
That's beautiful.
Alright, that's all I have for these. I have some
All right.
other questions that I've got to do.
All right, so what are we doing with the fireworks?
Well, number 15 is coming off too, right?
It's 15.
That's the rental space for the artistic.
That's taken off, that's not even on the agenda.
The approved organizations. That's a partial list, because
That's partial, that's approved up to now. That's, we have all their paperwork in as of now.
so with that, did we get that lease agreement through yet?
That's still working with the attorneys.
Like, when will that be done? Just now in the phone? Of the year that there's no lease on that property? Or will I work on it?
We'll have Larry and Dr. Lisa.
Now, what's the-
Which leads
It's up
you
your
referring
property.
to?
Dugfield property.
So we did give some comments on that, so I'm not sure where, so I'll have to talk to Larry to find out where we are, because we did provide comments relative to these.
Yeah, but we don't have any lease in place right now, so it's just a free-for-all.
Okay, so yeah,
Got a question.
I don't know if they have comments back to us on that yet.
It's almost a year though, now that there's no lease.
Yeah.
People just use the property willy-nilly.
Well, they should, you know, the lease is out there, so we have to find out what their response is to our comments.
Have you ever discussed this number 14? Is this the facilities use?
Yeah.
Have you ever discussed what we were gonna do with that?
We did discuss it, but it was, I don't know what happened to it. Again, you want to talk about the prices that people pay.
Yeah, like, especially the ones that are non-profit,
Well, all of them are not profit.
and the ones that we were explaining
I mean, like TTAs,
versus.
civics versus a tennis club that gets charged by TV.
Yeah. I thought we were gonna go with that.
Well, they put that on the agenda. That's a policy.
It's part of the policy. We actually finalized that policy just last year. This is the first year the policy's in being enforced. New policy came last year.
Or policy questions. So we can add that to the policy again, and then Jackie will use your input on it too.
I think you guys finalized the policy.
I didn't like it last year, even though I was on policy. I didn't like it last
Yeah,
year.
listen, that
But we-
apparently they're charging people a lot more
Because you
money.
had 3 votes. That's why.
Apparently they're charging people a lot more money for a lot of these, CYAs and CYOs, all that stuff.
PTA should not be charged that.
So then if you weren't happy, then why did you?
I said it. Go back and watch the videos. I said I
No,
did
no,
it
no,
that
then
way.
why did it leave policy committee if you want to leave?
Because under Linda and Lee and whoever else was there in that meeting at that time, they decided it was good, so I'm only one person.
Leave you
We
before
brought it
that?
up, we brought it out to the thing, I discussed
Yeah,
my
but you-
concerns, you guys all voted on it and it went through.
No, but Lee actually agreed with me at the last meeting with you guys, like a month
Well,
ago.
the fees are very
That the
high.
fee was very high.
The fees are very high, and I've been saying that from day one.
The CYO went from they went from,
Then they used
Less
to
than
something about
500
the law
right,
about
that was-
gifted funds, that's all I keep, gifted funds, that's all I kept hearing.
So then, why did something leave the policy? You guys mentioned
like,
it.
well over that week.
Lee, you were happy with that policy?
For one track.
Last year,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I didn't know that CYOs would get charged that kind of money.
So then
To
why?
get charged over $1,000 for one track is absurd.
We didn't at that time, and I will say, neither one of us knew that the amount of money that was going to be charged was going to be that high.
Especially because what they're gonna have to do now is they're gonna have to up their fees. And the kids are the ones who are gonna actually, the parents aren't gonna be able to afford it. The kids are the ones that are gonna be affected by it. And especially when they're predominantly our kids.
So in the policy meeting, was there a discussion of the pay schedule?
I wasn't on it.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah, but when you look at it, it says $150, and then all of a sudden somebody gets smacked with a bill for $1,000, it's a big difference.
Why would it be 150 versus?
I don't know, the schedule all messed up, and I said that from day
They're not
one.
for profit, I don't know how that legal happened. Actually, I just think.
Because it is, because you have specifically, a good example
Tell
is,
them what it is.
some clubs, some of these not-for-profits charge a lot of money and some don't. So the point was, how do we differentiate between the two?
Well, we gotta do some research.
I don't
Well,
think, we can't,
how do you put that in a policy? So,
we can't put that in policy.
right, so it's gotta be, we gotta do something else. I don't like it, it's a horrible
But we
policy.
can't put that's their, whatever CYO, CYA charges their people, we have nothing to do with that.
There's the issue though, because you can't, I'm trying
And
to tell you
that's why it
guys.
came through and
You're
went
gonna
to
have,
approve.
I had parents already calling, you're gonna have problems where there are
we
kids
had
who are not
problems.
gonna be able to afford to play certain things
Which we did for a year, we
because
got rid of it.
of what they're gonna be
Yeah.
charged.
So the biggest issue is, again, that we cannot gift public funds.
There we go, that was my.
So,
We're not gifting it if other school districts, this is what I'm saying, if other school districts allow these organizations to use their schools and they're charging them a quarter of the fee we're charging them, and we're predominantly, it's our kids, it's
right,
Connect Pop
well,
kids
I
predominantly.
think that what happened in the situation of the charge for the track meet was that it was a Sunday. So when they use our grounds and we have to call in grounds people and it's a Sunday, it's double time. That's just contractual. We, as a school district, cannot use public community funds to fund something that is not us. So if they have 5 custodians for 5 hours and they're at double time, that's probably about
Okay,
$1,000.
so that really is an anomaly.
Yeah, because
Only other schools
anytime
do
anyone
it.
talks to us about it, I say, please don't do something on Sunday. If you're gonna open a building and you're gonna need custodians, you're gonna need food service workers, you're gonna need security, please
So
don't do it on
that's what I'm
Sunday.
saying, should we like, that's something, I mean, I don't mind, I'll pass that along to whoever we need to.
It's
But
part,
to
it's
say,
part of the policy.
Try to do Saturdays, is that what you're saying?
Right, because if we have to pay people, they have to absorb that cost. We cannot let the taxpayer Connect Watch absorb the cost of something that is outside organization does.
When an organization asks you then for a list of the charges, and they don't get the list of charges, that's a problem.
They're on the website, and they do get billed. They get billed almost immediately from Jen Piano. She's very good at her job. So they're telling me something that's not true. Winter Wonderland went crazy in our first year. We had over 4,000 people there, and we did call a lot of people in, and we absorbed a significant amount of that cost the first year. The second year, we gave them the actual breakdown of what the cost would be.
What day was that, Friday night, Saturday, what day was that?
I want to say it was a Saturday, so that was time and a half because it's a weekend. So, or it was a holiday, it was either the front, but we actually gave them what the cost would be for the staffing that we needed. And we needed security, we needed food service workers, and we needed custodians. We had 4,000 people in that building. And we did, unfortunately, absorb a lot of that cost the first year because there was overtime like you would not believe because there were so many people in the building and the custodial staff couldn't keep up with it. So when we gave them the cost the next year of the staffing that our staff felt would be needed to make sure the building was safe and clean, it was a lot of money. It was also a Saturday. So it's something that we're not allowed to do as a community. We collect taxpayer money. We are not allowed to gift taxpayer money in services to organizations that are not the district.
Okay, so how do other districts do that?
I have to be honest, I'm not sure what other districts do. Many districts, I don't know if they receive legal advice with regard to many of these things. But you do have a very comprehensive policy when it comes to your facilities use that I believe addresses all of these issues.
See, I'd like to,
That's just that the fees are very high.
I'd like
So then
to.
that's a matter of the Board of Education to determine what the appropriate fees.
But she said that if we go lower, then we're gifting public funds.
Right, because if you're utilizing district employees, they have to be paid at the rate they're entitled to, and the district can't absorb that cost. So it sounds like
We're
the
charging them
cost.
for the highest paid district
this is
employees
what-
instead of
Charging them for
I'm
average.
so confused. On a
more
Sunday,
average,
if we,
rather than what we're actually using. What if we're using the lowest paid employees, but we're charging them the average? Then we're actually benefiting from this.
I think most districts just use that average. I've seen them use the average cost. Because you might have a head custodian, it really depends on a lot of factors, but that is common practice.
I got a question for you. What's the issue with, if you have
She's been tracked with fees too.
basketball, if something is outdoors at the high school, I'm just curious to know this. I understand having security there, that's a must. But what do we, if we're not utilizing the bathrooms or anything on the inside, why do we have custodial staff more than,
Generally, we have grounds to do some cleanup for the grounds while they were there, maintaining the garbage and that kind of thing. Would be inside building custodians because we wouldn't open them.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, it would be
They
grounds.
normally use porta potties, I don't know if people like
Right,
these functions.
right. This would just basically be for the control of the grounds, the maintenance of the garbage in the grounds and that, and like, if they ask for that.
Can they have their own person do the cleaning? They
No, because we'd be giving away unit work.
Okay, any other questions on that consent agenda items?
I have other questions, but
But not pertaining to this.
I do have some feedback on this extracurricular activity funds. So it is correct that the students have to be involved in the expenditure of the funds. So there's nothing that talks about making promises to pay except for disbursement of funds. And disbursement of funds has to involve the treasurer as well as the faculty advisor. So that,
so there's no advisor.
so that the advisor should be signing anything related to. That would
The
matter.
adult,
There's-
the adult advisor's name is on the actual contract, whereas the
Right, but
students
I
are
don't
saying
want the
it's okay to
children
disperse that
promising to
money.
pay things.
I mean, the children can because they're allowed to do the payment vouchers because they promise to pay. But it includes the signature of the faculty advisor as well.
Right, they're promising that the club is going to
But
pay.
if she just said with the advisor's signature, that's
The
not,
advisor's signature is on the Gucci contract.
it's not on that paper.
I don't think Bill needs to be on that paper. I think this is a responsibility that the students are
No, then
taking.
I'm gonna abstain,
The
I'm not gonna go for
government?
that, I'm not gonna let
I
a
think
child.
it's an educational thing. I think it's
Okay,
something
move
that
on.
they learn.
All right, so we're not gonna table, but Eileen, are you gonna call this for a no?
Look for a second vote, yeah, a second
We'll
vote.
look for a separate vote?
Sure.
Okay. So it's number 13 we're pulling. And are we still keeping item 10 as a table? Because we have your answer to your question on that.
No, we'll go down to.
Okay, so we're only pulling 13 for a second. Okay, so.
Which I don't understand why you won't just have the advisors sign that paper with them. Like, okay,
Because
How
they're
about-
talking about leading
have at it, that's fine,
officers.
have at it, let's go. Come on.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna need, and all in favor for the items of 1 through 16 excluding 13 for a separate vote.
With the changes as,
Yes, as amended.
Yeah, as amended.
Aye, yes.
Okay,
I'll
all in
say
favor? Okay, I'm asking for a motion and a second for the item 13, which is the firework application for Gucci.
I said yes,
she needs a
I need a
motion.
motion and a
Motion.
second.
yes, motion.
I'll second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
So, Lee's a yes, Jackie?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Abstain.
Eileen is abstaining, I'm saying yes. Okay, we're moving on to.
Perfect.
Okay, we're moving on to reports.
I need to give a big shout out and a thank you to John Allen and our maintenance and buildings and ground staff because our buildings are absolutely beautiful. After all the work that was done this summer and up till this weekend, we still had paving being done and work being done across the district, and our buildings are beautiful and ready for our teachers and our students back today. So I just have to thank them all for the work that they've done. One of the things that we'll be launching this year is an e-newsletter, which you'll have a link from me coming out in my welcome back address to the staff and the community. I'll also be sending out a help wanted ad for the facilities advisory participation as we move through the bond and any of the thoughts that we have. It was exciting day today. It was actually a beautiful day today, and I really was very happy to welcome back our teachers, and I'm really looking forward to welcoming back all of our students on Thursday. This summer, our new teacher academy, under the leadership of our district mentor, Elise Pulliam, went off without a hitch. We have quite a few new faculty members who had a 3-day program, and we actually are one of the few districts on Long Island, if not the only, that have a new teacher academy that goes through all 4 years of new teacher orientation and training so that they're the best that they can be for our Connect One kids. We opened up today with Superintendent's Conference Day, which included professional development to kick off our year, and tomorrow is our teacher orientation, which will also include professional development to make sure that we're moving in the right direction and kicking off our year. And it's just an exciting 1920 as we open up. Welcome back, everyone.
Reza, come on.
Come on, Reza. Okay, Board of Education, Lee?
I have a couple.
I have one little one, Lee. Can I go first?
I have.
I got a text today, actually, about some lights at the high school.
Yeah, we just, first
Do we notify the children? Do we, the teacher? I mean, do the parents get to find out? Because, you know, it's feeling really cool about it.
we know where's Mike
It's mites.
and Jim. No, where? High school, I think, because there was an email.
I know, but I mean, my.
There should be an email coming, yeah, there should be a couple, I'm sure you're gonna get.
I've seen that on Facebook before. That's what I'm part of it anyway, but I will.
Did the
Wade
email come
Room,
through?
high school, there it is,
Oh,
610,
This course.
came in at 610.
There's an email that came through?
And you hear that too, Joanna?
I think it's from him.
One of the nice
It's
things,
on, you were answering it, Miley.
one of the nice things that came out of our experiences last year when we had with moisture issues is we learned how to clean some very intricate and tight spaces. We went out and purchased a cleaning system called Hospital 360. It uses Clorox product that's actually used in there's any activity in there, we can certainly stop it immediately. That said, we'll also have to go back and figure out, cleaning practices and make sure we're doing a better job throughout the course of the day. But I'm very confident. First thing tomorrow, I can have that addressed.
So let me ask you a question.
We're looking for,
So if you have any type of allergens, is that what that hospital 360 does?
Allergens, I mean, it inhibits growth, it lessens spore activity, it does all those types of things. I mean, when you're in a dynamic environment with open windows and circulation and everything else, it's only as good as when applied when it's in a static environment. Last year we were closing up classrooms in 5 and 6. We were spraying into lockers, we were doing things that were not, a lot of air movement and everything else. The weight room, we can absolutely seal it off. We can go around to the entire space and fog it. And the nice thing about the fogging system is it actually creates a little extra electrostatic charge, and it's looking to ground itself, so it's looking for every nook and cranny to get into or to work on those spaces as well. So it is absolutely appropriate for that. But certainly, I'll make a phone call soon.
Is that your one concern?
that was it. I had that Mike's question, and I
Ms.
wanted to make
Kennedy?
sure other parents were notified.
I have 3. I'm gonna start off on
I'm gonna start with that, order that's there. Dean, are we having the foreign language program this year,
Yes.
starting?
We are working with our PR firm right now to get all the communication out to our parents. I have some information as an update as far as where we are. I can definitely distribute that this evening for you. But we're really excited. We will be having our 3rd grade class lunch and learn program in each of our elementary schools. We have contingencies built in for both under interest or over interest. I don't know if under interest is an actual term, but not as much interest and over interest. So we have contingency built in for that, as well as we did apply for our Title IV grant, and we are looking to expand our after-school language clubs as well at the elementary schools.
When you say over interest and under interest, is that per building? So you have some buildings that are highly interested and other buildings not too much?
No, we're prepared for it.
Okay, did you guys send out a?
So we're working with our PR firm now to get all of that information out. It'll be out through both hard copy mail and all of our social media platforms.
And when do you plan on starting the program?
In consultation with our building principals, we are looking to start the program hopefully within the second year.
What? So you think you're gonna get a response back that quickly from parents?
We anticipate we will. When we started our after-school lunch, after-school foreign language clubs, really the information came back very quickly.
That's number 1. Number 2 is, I had asked this before about the movie Wonder. I don't know how many of you have seen it. I was at someone's house, and I mentioned the movie. A little girl was 6th grade. She said, we saw it in our school. And then she proceeded to tell me, ask me, what part I liked best? And I said, what part? And she said, and the principal said, he can't change how he looks, but we can change how we see. This little girl recited that to me. Now she's not, she's going into 8th grade. This movie had an impact on her. It was shown in school. We have many, many speakers come in. They talk for 2 hours, an hour, a half hour. They leave, kids forget what's going on. And those speakers cost thousands of dollars each time they come. And there's nothing, there's no payback. We don't see it. So I'll go to the next step. So the father and mother, I meet them all. And we talked about this, and the parents are in the room. And then the parents say, we watched the movie. The father's a surgeon, okay? The mother is a veterinarian, these kids. And that's the parents, these 3 kids. We sat there and we watched the movie. The little girl watched it again. the mother said, we had to read the book, it was mandated reading in our school district. It was so touching that, you know, the mother, I mean, there are 5 different types of parents, or 6 different types of families that are involved in this movie. Now, it's not just about the child, it's about families. And maybe you could relate to being part of one family, some of you could relate to being part of another family. I mean, it's such an educational piece of information that no one's seeing anymore because it's not in the movie theaters. And for us, and you know how I feel about that, you know how I feel about bullying and nastiness and cruelty, this outweighs any lecture that comes in. And I'm asking once again, because I know it costs money, but it's costing money for that school district also with this kid who was, and they got it in their school. They were happy.
It doesn't cost that much.
So
You know,
how do we put that on there to vote on that?
Okay, so I've been in touch with Ms. Sanzo. Hopefully she'll be getting back to me in the very near future with a quote, and then I will be sharing it out with all of you.
and you know, it's not just you see the movie and it disappears. I mean, we have a new young lady right here and there. You see that movie, I don't know if you saw it or not. You see that movie, you know, but curriculum you can build after that movie.
Not only the movie, but the book as well, and it's read in many of our 5th grade classes.
Right.
Both together would be a great combination.
Right, but you know, this has been going on now. When that movie came out 2 years ago, so.
Okay, sorry. On Concord Middle School, they went.
Okay.
Well, Cherokee.
Right, but what I'm saying is when these kids go, there's education behind each piece. Just to see it and go home.
So as soon as we get a price, we can vote on it?
Yes.
Okay, that's number 1. Now I'm gonna go back to Dr. Dewey. You knew it somewhere. Dr. Dewey, he is a neurologist. He's been to the schools. He's been to
That's the brain something?
he talks about drugs.
Drugs and impact on the brain, yes.
Right. He does a wonderful job. He makes it, he turns something so complex into something so simple and understandable. Once again, I'm asking to get that to the middle schools. If it has to be the parents, which really is the ideal thing to have parents come and watch it with their children so they can then discuss it. And I'll tell you a story, when we had that, and it was a shame, but when we had that big thing going on at the high school, we had everyone there. We had so many social workers, we had so many programs there. We had so few people though, and that was a shame. However, I invited one man I knew who was having problems. He had twin girls, they were both on heroin. He didn't know what to do. Even the neighbor, he couldn't kick them out. The mother kicked them out from him to divorce them. So I said, please come, maybe someone could help you. So he did go. I introduced him to some people, and then I left. Both his daughters, well, he had help. They helped him. His daughters went to Florida. One got straight, the other did not. So she came back and started all over again. But he was wise enough to know he could not mollycoddle her anymore. He could not say, no, you can't stay here anymore, but he had a friend do it. So both of his children today are straight and narrow because of what they did in that room. So while it didn't reach everybody, it changed at least one person's life. 2 kids, you know. So I don't know what we're doing anymore, but I still do know we do have a big problem. And I don't know, you know, this is, and I'm not into the speakers coming in anymore, so I really don't think it will work. I really think at the middle school, we should bring Dr. Dewey with the parents. They don't want to go, they don't have to go. But, you know, it's time, we're not doing as much as we used to because the board's not pestering and there's so much going on in the district. I'm not saying anything, it's not personal to anybody, but I think it's time that we take a serious look at it, because kids are dying all the time.
We'll relook at bringing Dr. Dewey back in. I agree, both personally and professionally, I brought my own teenagers to see Dr. Dewey. It started a great conversation in my own home, and the people who did attend that nightly, I was there as well. It started a great conversation for everybody in that room. So to try to bring that back, I think would be a value to the district.
Now, I don't think it was the same nightly, but there was, something that Louise Berger had tried maybe 3 years ago. Not the name of it, do you remember? No, she brought in there was a coroner who actually shared with an autopsy of a, yes. Now, just piggybacking off of Lee there, I was quite disappointed. Great information that day. I can't think of the name of it, but I know it was sponsored through the, SB, maybe that's again, something to bring in with, Lee, because I was very powerful. And when I turned my, I think they had it, sponsored at, OBMS. I remember looking back and I'm like, seriously, 30 people and all this great information showed up for the parents? And you look back and you're like, it's always those same parents that show up for this stuff. They're probably, they've heard this information a million times over. I'd like to grab some new parents to hear some of this information.
And that's what they trained you on the
Huh?
It was at RMS and they trained it from the nonprofit.
Oh, maybe it was RMS. Yeah,
It was Jump Jack.
because OBMS and RMS, their auditoriums look the same. Yeah, I was Narcan trained that night. It was wonderful.
So what I'm hearing is a request to look into 3 different types of,
Well, maybe take the best of what Lee is saying, the best of that other program that Louise Berger, and just put together on one night.
The civics and the fire departments do a lot of the Narcan trainings.
Oh,
No, but this was more, they talked, they had a nice seminar.
Are we going to have any kind of, security meeting for the kids and the parents, or the parents so much, like we did a few years ago? The way that we had like a special meeting at Sycamore, where I know that we didn't get a huge turnout, but maybe we would just.
To just have Don discuss where we're at.
Yeah, Don, and then there was like stuff that came, it was a good, it was very informative.
What was it, Doc?
Just another update. Something on the street program.
No, I think it would be good, I think it would be good. No, I think it would be good to go over all.
That's the time that Don stood behind the board and talked. I know you're talking about.
Don, you know I want a big security meeting.
You wouldn't go on, you wouldn't
It's
go
gonna
on.
be good security meetings, like that, like the one at Sycamore.
Right. You would fight off camera, Don, so you can hear every once in a while.
No, but I think it's very informative, especially if you wait like a month until the kids get into school, so maybe like October, November. Just, for the parents to know, like, this is what, whatever you can say, not the, what I
Do
mean.
you want it at a board meeting, or you want some kind of presentation where we have SCPD come in and talk about,
Well, that's what I think
we
they
can talk about
It
cyber
was.
stuff?
I want to say it was your October meeting, it was your October meeting at Sycamore, it was like one of the big meetings.
That was in the wake of the tragedy in Florida.
Okay, because I was gonna say, because I remember you guys having it, but I remember it was, that they spoke before the board meeting, like they opened up the board meeting.
Yeah, it was in the wake of the tragedy that happened in Florida and all the things that had gone wrong down there and all the things that we were doing right, where we hope that would never happen here. But we could do something where we do some kind of a community forum where we
Right,
bring
I would
in
rather
two different
community
rooms. We
forum.
can have one with Narcan training, we can have one with the social host law, we can have one with how to not be cyber aware, we can have a piece of security.
It'd be good if we could
Keep
just have.
away something exactly, doesn't need them.
It would be good if we could just have one and intertwine the whole thing, everything
Yeah.
we're leaving.
Yeah.
Do the Narcan, let
We
them
can do
go
that too,
first,
local
and if
things.
people want to go to the Narcan, they sign up.
So we have a community wellness day that's put together by our YFS department through Gail Sanso at the library, which is extraordinarily well attended. So maybe we should have some mini sessions where those are the kind of things that people are talking about there as well. We do yoga for kids, we do wellness things.
We can show
what
these
do.
movies.
We could show these movie in the library, it probably costs less money, and you want everyone to see it. No, but I hear what you're saying, Jackie, so you want to expand that a little bit. Okay.
Okay, we're moving on to, public comments. Same rules applied earlier.
Public comment?
Come on, Deidre, I see you coming.
Hey, don't say nothing.
Oh, sorry. She knows. Hey, can everybody knows who she is?
Do I need to?
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
This thing on.
I'm the one button, right? Yeah, we got it.
The lotto is now 10 million.
Comment on what you just brought up, actually. I was of the feeling, under the impression that really security should stay security and not, really be discussed or disclosed that much. So.
Yes and no.
To have a meeting like that, and I just get parents, that meeting, that time was because something had happened.
Truth of the matter is, in today's day, you'd rather have the meeting than wait until something happens and then have the meeting. We need to learn to be proactive. So we have meetings to let the community know what's going on, not to give them inside information that could possibly breach or hurt children or hurt what's going on around the school, but more so to be informative. If we don't do that, then unfortunately, if something does happen, having the meeting after the fact doesn't really make sense. It just looks like we're putting a Band-Aid on after the
I think, though, that in general, security-wise, we are very proactive. So I don't know, I just see something like that as it almost gets the parents excited. I think it's well known that we have great security. So
I think we have
that's
wonderful
comforting
security,
to-
but there's always room for advancement, always, in everything in life.
Well, everything, yes.
There's always room for advancement.
Just to bring it up and have a
No.
meeting about it might just,
I think in the wake of everything going on around the world, I think we have to be more proactive to what we're doing. There's active shooters and stuff going on all around the world, and to be perfectly honest, no school, and I do mean no school, is exempt. And no school can say they're 90%, they're 99%. But that's what I'm saying, it's always better to be proactive and give the community a little bit of information. And every school, not just Connecticut, every school can certainly improve in a lot of ways, because every year new stuff is happening.
every day and stuff happens.
Absolutely.
But I'm just saying, I think that might get a little craziness going, so.
Well, I think it's the reality that people need to
It's
face.
all the paperwork, all the security, the sub packets, all this,
Yeah,
I don't know, just my opinion is,
Yeah,
we're good, so.
I think there's a lot of things that we need to, all as a collective unit, work on together. And really, if you brought Suffolk PD in, they would tell you straight up, the same way I would tell you, that nobody is 100%.
I don't think
secure.
anybody claims to be
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's never a bad thing to have a meeting to inform people, especially new people to the community. Because we do have a lot of new families that moved in to the community, to let them know and be aware. Before, God forbid, something happens.
Yes, but
So we
that
better-
comes in the package, walking into the schools, because you gotta have name tags and everything's locked, and, so I think it puts parents at ease as best they could be in this world, but. that's just my
I'll always
opinion.
fight for improvement there. When it has to do with children, I'll always fight for their safety, because as far as I'm concerned, safety, security is just as, if not more important than even their education. Because a child who isn't safe and secure or doesn't feel that way will certainly not be able to thrive, because they'll have anxiety going to school, and that's the kind of things that I'm trying to alleviate.
Again, I think everybody feels that way with their safety, so all I'm saying is, more meetings about it, I don't think necessarily is going to.
I think one a year. I think one big one a year is a good thing.
All righty.
Does anyone else have any concerns? Going once, going twice? Okay, I'm gonna ask for a motion and second to adjourn this meeting.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.